Hi, everyone. Here comes a new satirical take on the adventures of the Sussexes, straight out of the South Park playbook. Recently, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry made their first public appearance together in ages. They attended a charity event in Santa Barbara, hosted by Kevin Costner. The event was held just down the road from his home, and all the money raised went toward wildfire relief. And of course, we can't forget that Harry and Meghan had already made their huge contribution to the LA wildfires earlier this year. Oh yes, their efforts were just amazing. They posed for photos with firefighters, shook hands with the mayor, gave a t-shirt to a girl who'd lost her home, and even showed up at an evacuation center with a box of cookies. All of this naturally was done incognito, so incognito it was broadcast live on TV. Just a few shots for the press and suddenly they're California's saviors, Kyle smirked. Well, at least there was a t-shirt and some cookies, Stan grumbled. But at the Well Child Awards, Harry promised $500,000 and said that already counted as a donation. Like he says it, so it's done. Show the check? Nah, that's asking too much. But let's get back to that charity event in Santa Barbara. The full video popped up online. And just picture this. Big announcement, everyone waiting, and out walks Harry. Alone, upbeat, microphone in hand. "Hey, everyone," he calls out, without even looking back. And then right behind him, as if ignoring the schedule and the organizers' protests, Meghan squeezes her way on stage. She's smiling, waving, ready to shine for the crowd. But Harry, it seems, had no idea she was coming out. His eyes go wide and he stammers awkwardly, hi. Looks like he just ran into some random person in line for coffee, not his wife, Butters says, eyes wide in surprise. Man, he was looking at her like she'd just swiped a donut off his plate. Cartman bursts out, choking with laughter. That's it. Divorce on principle. And here's the funny part. Meghan is standing on stage, smiling stiffly, reaching toward the microphone like she's waiting for Harry to say, "Here's my wonderful wife. Say something, honey." But Harry just keeps talking, like no one else is even there. In the end, it's clear. Tonight, the mic stays with him. Meghan drops her hands, gives up waiting, and just walks off stage. Harry goes on with his speech like that was the plan all along. What were they even thinking? Harry seemed totally wrapped up in himself. "I'm a prince. I've got to look serious. I'm the big hero of the night." And Meghan, standing there with that smile, was clearly thinking, "I'm the real star here, so why didn't I get the mic?" And that's when a South Park character just has to chime in. "Ignored your wife in public, Harry? Nice one. Better get ready. You've got a 3-hour fight waiting at home." Randy Marsh lets out a knowing sigh, then just flops down on stage and takes a swig of beer like he's the guest of honor. But jokes aside, what does this moment really tell us? Right now, Harry's doing the only thing he knows, trying to act like a philanthropist, rebuild that proper prince image, and show the public, "Look, I'm one of you again." And it's not about being a duo with Meghan anymore. More and more, she's tied to negativity. Scandalous headlines, failed projects, and flops. Harry knows it. That's why on stage he doesn't even try to bring her into his speech. "Well, looks like the guy's going solo. Can't wait for his debut album," Cartman snarks, rolling his eyes. And here's where it gets really interesting. This marriage is already cracking. The more they try to sell themselves as the perfect couple, the more obvious it is they're not. A man who really wanted to save his marriage wouldn't flat out ignore his wife on stage. And a woman confident in her place beside her husband would have just stayed and backed him up. But Meghan chose differently. She made it clear she won't play background and wants equal billing with Harry. Problem is, he's the only one with the real royal status. So the picture's clear. Harry's playing the big charity hero, step by step pushing Meghan aside, and she's not ready to take it. That's why this awkward little mic episode turned into a trailer for their marriage, showing exactly where things are headed. Well then, if that was the trailer, the premiere of a show called Sussex Divorce isn't far off, Kyle sneers. Now let's go over Meghan's string of flops, the very ones that even her own husband seems to stay away from more and more because of them. It feels like every time she announces a serious project, it ends up turning into a farce. The best example? The so-called legendary brand, As Ever. On paper, it was meant to show off the real Meghan, her special lifestyle, authenticity, and, as she claimed, practically a new gold standard in products. In reality, that whole taste empire never took off. The lineup looks like random stuff pulled off a grocery store shelf. A bottle of rosé, mixes for crepes and shortbread, some cake sprinkles, 3 kinds of tea, a jar of raspberry jam, and the big seasonal release. Just a plain old jar of marmalade. Of course, Meghan presents it as our new signature fruit spread, which leaves the obvious question, who's actually buying this stuff? But Meghan is sure she knows the answer. She thinks her audience is people who aspire to her lifestyle, who want a piece of her. And in her mind, the ideal customer is a 15-year-old girl. In Meghan's imagination, the schoolgirl pays $9 for a jar of jam, then proudly puts the empty jar on her desk and uses it to hold a candle or pencils. The whole scene is so ridiculous it feels like it was written in the South Park writer's room. A teenager sits at her desk, proudly sets the jar in front of her and whispers, "Now I'm just like Meghan." The classmates crack up, Cartman falls off his chair, and Butters innocently asks, "Why would you buy jam for $9 when your mom can get it at the store for $3?" And that's the problem. Meghan believes way too much in her own star power and is totally out of touch with the real world. Instead of looking at the market and finding out what people actually want, she pictures fangirls carefully storing pencils in her empty jam jars. Meghan loves to call herself a businesswoman and insists, "As ever is my baby, I make all the decisions." But that's the real problem. She brushes off expert advice, ignores criticism, and insists on doing everything her way. That's why experts have aptly called her a wantrepreneur, not a real entrepreneur, but someone just playing at business, more focused on the pretty picture than on actual results. At first, her show with Love Meghan was supposed to be a showcase for the As Ever brand. The series was meant to be a tool for subtle promotion of her products. But Netflix quickly realized there was no point in getting dragged into that mess, so they didn't bother promoting her stuff. So what do you think about all this? Do Meghan's flops have an impact on her relationship with Harry? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, and don't forget to subscribe. More South Park-style breakdowns are coming your way.